What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Reel Me In, a movie podcast where you didn't really ask for it, but hey, we're going to give it to you anyways. This is a podcast where we talk about anything, everything, and, well, anything about movies. I'm one of your co-hosts, Chase Lee, and hey, guys, listen, if you're searching on the internet for another movie-based podcast where the hosts do nothing but just talk about movies and fawn over fictional stuff, and you want to be a part of that community, and, you didn't know where to go, and you landed on ours accidentally, welcome. We don't want to scare you off too much, but we love talking about movies, and hopefully we can join you in on the conversation as well, because I love talking with you guys if anyone ever reaches out to me, and just talking about anything about movies. That's what we're here to do. And if you are new, welcome once again, but if you're a returning listener, welcome back. What we typically do is we'll go over some moves. What is a move? We're going to go over some news and some movie trailers that drop throughout the week, and we will commentate on them for you guys, and then we will have a review or reviews of movies that drop on said weekend and box office results to accompany that. For the movies that we review, we might do a blockbuster, an indie film, 2 indie films, 2 blockbusters. Who knows? We like to cover the whole spectrum to give you guys a full range. We're not going to just do full-on big blockbusters all the time. That would just be unfair because there's a lot of great stuff out there. This is episode 243, and the main review that's on trial, and I put that literally. The movie that is on trial this week is Mile 22, the new Peter Berg-Mark Wahlberg combo film. Previous ones were, Patriots Day, Deepwater Horizon, and Lone Survivor. So what was Mile 22 like? It's their 4th one in a row. We'll get to that when we get to that. And then, of course, Joel will have a surprise review. And speaking of the Joel, how are we doing this week? It's we're getting towards the end of August, and so the summer's almost done, and things are starting to wind up again. So what's going on in the Joel's world?
I can't believe it's almost the end of summer. It's insane. I'm going to have to go back to school soon. I'm just kidding. I guess if that were true, it would be tomorrow. But yeah, it's been a good week. Other than a certain viewing, it's been a good week. So it'll be interesting to get into this movie for sure. This will be a fun review to record. As for this week, I just kind of hung out. Work is going well. Didn't really do a lot this week. Yeah, it's just kind of boring. This coming week is going to be fun though, so I'm looking forward to that. I should have some stories.
Well, I guess I'll just have to take the baton and run with it on this one. My week was actually pretty stacked. I had a movie every single day. To give you guys the kind of rundown and just what I've been through this week. Monday, I saw Juliet Naked, the Ethan Hawke, Rose Byrne, Chris O'Dowd film. I'll go ahead and just review it right now. You don't even need to go see my YouTube review. It's fine, I guess. It's like one of those romantic comedies that, like, it comes, it goes. You leave the theater and you go, cool. So that was Monday. Tuesday, saw The Meg. I know Joel reviewed that last week, and actually, it's fine. A couple cool moments, but other than that, it's just like, it's whatever. And then Wednesday was really fun. Saw Blaze, the movie about Blaze Foley. It's, directed and co-written by Ethan Hawke and also co-written by Blaze's lover. That was a part of his life before he died. And Ethan Hawke was there. Ben Dickey was there, the gentleman that played Blaze Foley, and that was really cool. Ethan Hawke is one of my favorites, period. So, just seeing him throughout movies during my youth, and, of course, being a part of some of the best movies of all time, in my opinion. And then, of course, this year with First Reformed, and even Juliet Naked, which is harmless. It's like he was in that one. It's like this one. He directs, and he does have a bit role in it, but it's something to where he doesn't get on his high horse about. It's like he's there, and it shows the back of his head, but he doesn't put himself in focus, which is, it's respectable. But it was really cool to hear him talk. And if I can get the image, bright and everything, I'll put that on my YouTube channel because it was kind of dark in there. I don't know why they didn't brighten them up, but that was Wednesday, and of course Thursday was Mile 22. So, Joel, just a movie every single day, and of course squeezing in, some more Game of Thrones episodes in between that and some other stuff. So, just a very, very jam-packed week. And, of course, I can't contain my excitement. I want to see Muppets do each other in offices and, snort coke or whatever, pixie dust. And I'm super excited for Thursday. Even if Happy Time Murders is just horrendous, I'm hoping to at least have, like, even stupid fun with it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but, like, when we get into, like, mile 22, it's going to be like, well, that was an experience. I don't know if I would classify it as good or bad, but it was an experience. At least with Happy Time Murders, I know what I'm getting myself into, and I'm just super excited about it because I love crazy movies like that. And, of course, every time when I think about Happy Time Murders, I think about the short little section in Forgetting Sarah Marshall when Jason Segel's character has his his kind of puppet play or whatever he's been working on forever, and it's absolutely hilarious. So I'm hoping that it's a good one, Joel. But we'll find out for next week. But that was my week, sir.
And it's from the director of the Muppet Christmas Carol too. So it's like
so if that doesn't get your jimmies and a rustle or whatever in a good way, then I can't help you. So before Joel gets into the news, guys, please favorite this podcast, spread it around, and let people know this is your favorite one to listen to, and have more people join in on the conversation. Joel, so there was a few things that dropped during the week in news, and we're going to start out with a banger of sorts. So what's going on in the movie world?
Oh boy. Okay, so of course, a couple weeks ago we were talking about this. Disney decided to fire James Gunn from the third Guardians of the Galaxy movie that's supposed to come out in 2020 because of some old tweets that he sent from the 2008 to 2010 era, I think. Some fairly tasteless jokes that were pretty awful. I read, we both read them. They were pretty bad. And they decided that because it didn't fit their values, they decided to fire him. The studio that gave us Song of the South. But yeah, so they have pretty much dug in their heels on this. They're saying that he's not coming back. However, they're apparently going to use his screenplay. I don't know if they're going to rewrite that to some extent to try to paper over some perceived mistake there. But in any case, I think that it was to save face because Dave Bautista said that he was no longer going to play Drax if they did not use James Gunn's screenplay on the movie, which pretty ballsy thing for him to do. I mean, he's a WWE star, but he's also trying to get into the movie world, and this is a fairly ballsy move for someone to do that in the midst of a big franchise like this, especially considering Avengers 4 hasn't come out. And I have to wonder, with all of this stuff that's going on, if they decide, say, to rewrite or throw out the screenplay and Dave Bautista exits, and then what happens with Avengers 4? I know it comes out before that, and I know that they've already shot it, but I have a feeling that to some extent parts of that movie will hint at later parts of the franchise. So what are they going to have to do there? That's going to be an interesting thing to see, because it's going to have wider repercussions than just Guardians 3. It's not an island. It's not some little, cast off. It is a major part of a franchise, two franchises really, its own trilogy. Or its own series. I don't know if it's a trilogy, but its own series, the Guardians of the Galaxy sort of mini-series, if you will. And then also the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole, because of the fact that they're such an integral part, especially, to Avengers 4. So it's just really interesting, a lot of moving parts. I'm not surprised at all by the fact that Disney decided they're not going to reverse their stupid decision. I mean, of course not, because they're a giant corporation that will fear looking weak if they decide to reverse that, especially to the kind of people that outed the tweets, Cernovich and whatever the other guy's name is, Prosobiec, and I mean, I don't get it, but I kind of do because of course, again, they're just a big corporation. They'll think they look weak if they reverse their decision. They think it's the progressive thing to do right now, and they went after somebody who was genuinely contrite in his apology, and it's just kind of dumb. So, it's really, really interesting to see this and the Movie Pass stuff like all happen kind of concurrent to each other, because you're seeing a bunch of really big corporations kind of screw up and also flub their attempts to paper over their mistakes, and it's just really, really sad. So you take it away.
Yeah. Okay, so when the story originally broke that Disney was going to fire James Gunn, of course I was just like, yes, those tweets were awful, they're horrendous, that no one's in favor of that. If you're in favor of it, then you need to go on an island somewhere and not talk to anyone else for the rest of your life. So everyone's in agreement of there. Now, agreeing to fire him, that's a different story. I'm going to be honest. As this story progresses, I'm actually content with it because James Gunn is looking like a good guy in this entire situation. Think about it. Disney has to, first of all, pay him out $7 to $10 million to break his contract because he didn't do anything wrong to break the contract, because those tweets were made way before he got hired and Disney knew about them, so they have to pay him. They're going to use his script, and they're going to have a hard time trying to find another director to fill his shoes, and that's going to be really difficult, not only on a conceptual front, like are they going to keep the franchise consistent, and also a lot of people are going to get really angry that this person's going to try to follow James Gunn. It's a lose-lose situation for Disney. It's a win-win for James because he gets paid to do nothing. His script's going to probably get used, and he's got offers flying out the door from other studios. So to me, it sounds like justice was served, and it sounds like Disney's going to struggle to keep this, kind of franchise going, depending on who they get to replace Gunn. Now, Joel brings up a good point. What's going to happen with Avengers 4? They've already shot all the footage, and we assuming, from what happened at the end of Infinity War, things are going to get reversed, which means people are going to appear in it that may have not been at the end of Infinity War. So, you've already shot everything. Obviously, Dave Bautista is in Avengers 4. They have plenty of time before Avengers 4 comes out. What's going to happen if Dave Bautista decides to exit his franchise? They're going to find a way to either kill him off in Avengers 4, or they're just going to let it play out, and if his character is brought back into a Guardians of the Galaxy 3, they're going to recast him. I don't know which way you go, because either way it looks bad, because if you do just blatantly kill him off in a very pointless scene in Avengers 4, you're going to have that in the back of your mind and go, oh, Disney just killed him off because of what happened, last year, when we see Avengers 4 at that point. So, I don't know, man. It's like I said, if you think about it, justice is getting served, karma is fighting back, and I think Disney's losing and James Gunn's winning. So you know what? That's the way I look at it now. I'm actually content with it. I'm not angry anymore because it sounds like all the cards are falling into place for James Gunn, and the deck is being reshuffled for Disney. So that's just the way I kind of look at it now.
Yeah, pretty much the same here. I mean, on the note of Avengers 4, if they reshoot something, I suspect, what if in the current version, Drax, well, I feel like it's probably obvious considering he's talking about how he's not going to do the movie, that Drax lives through Avengers 4. I think we can guess that. So if he decides that he's through, then I guess that they could just go through and reshoot maybe something where he dies fighting Thanos. because I have a feeling that would be kind of a fitting end to somebody who's, trying to, avenge his family's death. So I guess that's something they could do, but it's all entirely their fault. It's Disney's fault if that happens, because they're the ones who kind of did this. They're the ones who, kind of set the stage for Bautista to leave. And we haven't heard of such a threat from anybody else, but they signed the petition. Obviously they want him back, and if Disney decides that they're not going to bring him back, then it may be that Bautista just decides that he's done, in which case they're going to have to reconfigure that whole thing. I mean, so it's going to be interesting to see how they handle all of this.
I just want people to know that, like, Dave Bautista has a lot to lose out of the entire Guardians cast, because everyone else is going to be fine if they quit that franchise. Pratt's got Lego movie, Jurassic movies. Zoe's got the Avatar 800 sequels coming out. Bradley Cooper's about to probably get nominated for Best Director for his movie coming out this year. Vin Diesel's going to make Fast and Furious 30 by the time we're all dead. So everyone's going to be fine. Dave Bautista doesn't really have much going on. The fact that he is standing up and he's about to throw away his entire, franchise that's giving him lucrative dollars, I gotta, give him props for that, because that's kind of amazing when you think about it. Like, he's the only one in that cast, at his level, that's just like, I'm done. Everyone else, they could easily walk away, but he could literally lose his career and get blacklisted for this. And so, stand up and applause to him, Joel. I've always appreciated what he is. He's taking a stance and he's running with it.
And it's great too, because it kind of shows what kind of a person he is, and I think that he's shown that through his Twitter feed. I think that he's one of the good people, guys. He's not one of the losers, the bad ones. And I think that this kind of shows that, because he's able to kind of set that consideration for his career aside. Of course, he can always fall back again on WWE, because I don't think that they would it would affect that very much. But if he wants, but you're right. I mean, if he wants to make a career of movies and kind of become the new Rock / John Cena, kind of, I think he might already be, considering he's part of a big franchise. But if he wants to continue that and move past the Guardians movies to other movies, then this is a tricky thing to do with the biggest corporation in the universe, Disney. So it's a pretty ballsy stuff. Moving past that, there's some really interesting news from one of the best working directors right now, I would say, and that is Wes Anderson, who is readying his next movie already. Of course, I guess he's always kind of in some sort of production process with a movie, but it has been, it was 4 years since his last movie before Isle of Dogs, and now he's moving to live action, so I guess that's a little less to plan than a stop-motion animation movie. This one we don't really know much about, but it's pretty cool. It's going to be a musical set in France just after World War II. This is the first time that he's done a musical, so am I down for Wes Anderson, the director of Royal Tenenbaums, Grand Budapest Hotel, a bunch of other stuff, doing a musical? You bet your butt I am. I cannot wait to see what this is, to see what it comes out of. What comes out of it, I should say. And it's shooting in a city, and I wanted to try to say this on air. Angoulême. I think that's how you say it. Angoulême in France. It's going to be shooting there, and it's going to be really interesting. I can't wait to see what it is and what it's about. So super excited for this.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing more to say except pure excitement. I mean, when you think about one of the best directors working today that's really well versed in color and art direction, that's what musicals are. They're lively, they're colorful, they're exciting. That's what Wes Anderson is. So if you can apply his kind of colorful sensibilities and really symmetrical cinematography to a musical, that's like a marriage that was waiting to happen. I'm surprised he has not done this sooner, but it will be interesting to see him kind of tackle a musical, because we've really never seen him kind of go down that route, and so because he usually kind of tampers with coming of age dramas, animation, but he doesn't really ever tackle the musical genre. But I think with his sensibilities, if you just look at his whole filmography, this just sounds like a natural progression to go. And I don't know why I think of it, but a Wes Anderson musical set in that time frame with all the rich colors. I don't know if you think of it, Joel, but I think of maybe a Sound of Music type of deal, but with different cinematography. So, I mean, I'm excited. I have nothing really more to say. We'll just have to wait until we see who's cast, which will probably be Bill Murray, Ed Norton, and his usuals, and we'll get to see it. I can't wait.
Maybe he can sneak Emma Stone in there. Just
oh my god, that'd be
kind of screw
perfect.
People. Be awesome. It's his style. I think is so immediately tied to that kind of very expressive kind of filmmaking that musicals are, and I just think it's a perfect fit. So cannot wait. Guys, we also have some casting news to talk about, and that's our last bit of news. It was kind of a thin couple of weeks. Of course, remember that last week we only talked about one thing, but really nothing had happened. So I just kind of gave us a few casting bits. Tessa Thompson is going to be starring as Lady of Lady and the Tramp, the Disney live-action CG hybrid remake for the streaming service that they're starting. We already know that Justin Theroux is going to be voicing Tramp. It's apparently they've added a couple of characters. There's going to be Kiersey Clemons as Darling, Ashley Jensen as Jackie, and various other actors. But in any case, it's pretty exciting. I like to hear that. She's a really, really talented actress. But of course, as good old Grace Randolph said, they're race bending the voice of a dog. Oh no, guys! I'm just kidding. That's a total joke. The next one is Benicio del Toro, who's joining up with Oliver Stone for I think the second time for a movie called White Lies, which is supposedly going to be far, far, far less political than his usual movie. It's going to probably be more like, I guess. Actually, I can't think of anything that this is like in terms of Stone's filmography. But here's the plot. We followed Jack, a child of divorce, now repeating his parents' mistake in his own marriage and with his troubled son. Feeling trapped, he embarks on a lust-filled journey to free himself, but only becomes more lost. When he meets a woman whose life is the opposite of his own, he begins a journey of rediscovery. This isn't very much like anything we've seen from Stone in a while. I can't really think of the last time he's done something like this where it was just a more of an intimate relationship drama, family drama. So this is really interesting, especially considering he's teaming up with somebody with such hardened looks like Benicio del Toro, who, not saying that he can't play tender roles, but he obviously can, but it's interesting. So, and then the last bit is really interesting, and it actually gives us a chance to talk a little bit more about a certain company. Bruce Willis is going to be starring in a movie called 10 Minutes Gone. Okay, so 10 Minutes Gone is going to be some sort of an action drama, I guess. He's playing a crime boss. Don't really know much about it other than that, but we do know who it's coming from, and this is interesting. So we all know that recently the movie Gotti came out, the John Travolta movie about John Gotti Sr., and the movie bombed, and despite the the interesting campaign to try to guilt audiences into seeing it by saying that only audiences really want to see it, even though nobody saw it, and critics had it out for the movie, even though it wasn't screened for them. And yeah, the company that kind of owned that was MoviePass, which has recently gone through some slight drama. There's just been a couple of things, wouldn't you say, Chase? Just two or three, maybe.
I think they had like a price change and like maybe some upper management, but you know that was it.
It was very slight. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. It was a horrible journey, and in fact, it even changed a couple times in the last couple of weeks. They started randomly uncanceling subscriptions, I heard. Very quietly, so people who had canceled their subscriptions within, with kind of, I guess, within the date that, within the past few days of them doing that, were then signed up again, even though they'd canceled the subscriptions. What a great move! And then they started restricting movies that people can see. So I have some Facebook acquaintances who were trying to see the movie Blind Spotting. Which was like advertised all over the app. And then none of the theaters that they went to were holding blind spotting screenings that could be covered by MoviePass. There were other ones, like they would actually like reserve a ticket, and then by the time they got to the theater, the ticket had disappeared. So this whole company is just in total disarray. And they have decided that they're going to form this thing called MoviePass Films. And their first big production alone is going to be this movie called 10 Minutes Gone with Bruce Willis. Now, of course, this is pretty much proof that Bruce Willis will just take whatever role he can. I suspect that he didn't care about MoviePass's involvement. I don't blame him in this. I blame whoever thought it was a good idea at MoviePass to do this, and also like keep, like go through with it at this point in their kind of run of horrible decisions. So this is a really interesting one. And yeah, so those are the bits of casting. Really not a whole lot of news this week, guys. Sorry about this. I know that a lot of y'all like the news, but really not a lot happened. But Chase, I wanted to get your thoughts on all of these.
Yeah, the Lady in the Tram thing, Tessa Thompson's perfect. She's got one of those voices that's very warm, inviting, charismatic, serious when she needs to be. Like, it's a perfect voice for animation. No problems there. Benicio del Toro in an Oliver Stone movie, that's awesome. I love me some Del Toro. He can literally do anything, and I will still watch it, even if it looks horrendous. I'm still laughing because the only thing I've seen with him in it this year, because I didn't see Day of the Soldado, is when he's in Infinity War and he's he's in the glass box on in front of Thanos. He's like, magnificent. It's like the best overacting I've ever seen from him, and it was absolutely wonderful. But that's also great. He can be in whatever. The MoviePass thing is fascinating. Casting Bruce Willis in a movie is whatever at this point, because he's literally in everything. And I'll get to that in just a second on how he's going to change his career around literally with one movie. And I think you guys know where I'm going with that. But with the MoviePass thing, they were co-involved with Gotti and American Animals. Now, I have never seen Gotti. Don't need to. It does not appeal to me. I love mob true crime movies, but watching John Travolta overact for 2 hours is just not my wheelhouse to do on a weeknight after work. I got other important things to do. But American Animals, that's a good movie. And I don't know how much involvement they have with it, but they are still classified as a co-partner. Now, with this, if it's a hit, this is going to save MoviePass. I don't know whose idea it was to make movies or at least distribute or produce them, but I mean, if you're thinking about it in a business strategy, this could work. Bruce Willis, Sylvester Stallone, Nicolas Cage, they do really well on streaming and iTunes and all those other streaming platforms. If they make this movie, even if they put it in theaters for like a week, it's going to kill on streaming, and that could potentially save not only maybe their company, but also find another like kind of path of revenue. Now, depending on when this movie comes out, because I'm assuming Bruce Willis and Nicolas Cage shoot movies in like a half a day and they're edited, and another half a day and they're released online. This is where this is kind of a genius move. I am no doctor, Joel, but if I had to make some type of diagnosis on Glass, that movie is going to propel Bruce Willis back into stardom again. And it's going to give other studios more confidence to hire him. So here's what I'm thinking. MoviePass is not, well, in terms of their business, they're idiots. But they're also smart in terms of, I guess, the long game and how they can fix this. If this movie comes out relatively after Glass and all the critical acclaim it's going to get, I don't know if it's going to be a good movie, but given the track record of M. Night through Split and Unbreakable, there's a lot of hype for this movie. If it is remotely good, and Bruce Willis gives one of the best performances he's given in the past, 20 years, this is going to propel him back up there. And if you have a movie like this being distributed and produced and all that stuff by MoviePass, and it does very well, then MoviePass just saved their ass. And you know what? Good for them. They're trying to turn their business around even though they're hanging by a thread. Will it work? I have no clue. But I can tell you, I think that's what they were going for. And I can't really fault them, Joel. Because I think making this movie after Glass and knowing Bruce Willis's history on streaming, I think it's kind of a genius move. I know I'm crazy, but I think they could possibly have a good thing on their hands.
Interesting. I guess so, but then again, they're still just kind of keeping going with this. True. In the midst of literally dying as a company.
Yeah, literally bleeding out by the hip, and it's like,
yeah, it just feels like they're not going to make it to the release of that movie, and so I don't know how smart it is, even if they are trying to capitalize on that, which we don't really have much proof that that's what they're trying to do. But yeah, certainly it's an interesting thought. All right, that was the end of the news, guys. We're going to move on to our trailers. So Chase, tell us about the first one.
Oh boy, the first one. All right, so just a little backstory. I went to a Fantastic Fest back in 2015. I absolutely loved it, and I hope one day that Joel and I can go together and have him experience it, because it's probably my favorite festival I've ever been to. It's a bunch of genre films, a bunch of wacky out there films, foreign films. It's a great experience because you have no idea what you're going to get. So that year I saw The Lobster. I saw what did I see? I saw The Lobster. Guys, it's been 3 years. My memory's fading. But anyways, I saw a lot of movies during my time there. And I'll eventually find the list later today. I'm just like, oh yeah, I saw that and that and that. There was one film I saw I absolutely hated. I do not mind absurd films that have absurd comedy, absurd situations, and it's kind of like just a kooky movie. I don't mind those movies. If you can hit in the right way, I'll think you're one of the funniest things on the face of the earth. But sometimes it's a misfire, and I just don't really understand the humor. Case in point, The Greasy Strangler, I saw that year. That was a bad movie. I don't understand the hype around it. If you liked it, cool. I just didn't understand it and its style of humor. But I admire the commitment that director Jim Hosking kind of went for it and just really just made this very bizarre movie. So now, here's the first trailer. An Evening with Beverly Lynn, and this one comes from the director of The Greasy Strangler. He also co-wrote it, and it stars Aubrey Plaza, Jermaine Clement, Emile Hirsch, Craig Robinson, and this one tells the story of, I'm going to go and just read IMDb's thing because it just sounds crazy. Lulu Danger's unsatisfying marriage takes a turn for the worst when a mysterious man from her past comes into town to perform an event called An Evening with Beverly Left Lynn for one magical night only. And that's basically it. And then, of course, maybe some murder mystery stuff kind of happens. I got to be honest. Didn't like the Greasy Strangler. Who knows? I might not even like this one. But I like this trailer. I don't know, it had like a very playful attitude to it while still being like this absurdist comedy. Looks like it's going to dive into some murder mystery crime stuff. I think this type of story works for this style of comedy that Hosking went for in the Greasy Strangler. So I don't know. Maybe that was the disconnect. But I think this trailer actually kind of fits his weirdness, and I really enjoyed it. I will be the first one to say that I will check this out. Coming from a guy that saw the Greasy Strangler and just hated it, I actually want to see this, and I like the cast involved. I don't even remember the last time Jermaine Clement was in a movie. What was this, like 100 years ago? Like, what was it, Men in Black 3? I mean, it's been a while. Aubrey Plaza is on a hot streak. I love the choices she is making post Parks and Recreation with all, the smaller films like Ingrid Goes West. And I didn't really care for Life After Beth, but I mean, it's still another indie project that she went for, and she's not really in like big movies. This is kind of like her wheelhouse. And of course, Craig Robinson I'll always watch, and Emile Hirsch. So, Joel, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually liked it.
I don't blame you. I don't like it. I just, nothing about this movie is really all that interesting to me. I'll see Aubrey Plaza in anything, so I'm sure that I'll see the movie. But yeah, I just felt like the trailer was annoying, and the characters, it didn't ingratiate me to these characters enough to look forward to seeing this. Let's just say that, because I'm still going to see it, but I don't think it looks very interesting. And you're right. It's been a while since Clement was in something wide released. He's done a couple of small movies, but like that People, Places, Things from a few years ago, which I didn't see, but I heard good things about that one. But yeah, it's
and that's
certainly
the thing.
been
It's understandable that you won't like. It's like it's the same type of humor from the Greasy Strangler, and it's like, But you know what? Maybe it was just the cast that actually did it for me. But it looks.
I mean, the
cast
is eccentric for sure. I mean,
yes.
You have Aubrey Plaza, Jermaine Clement, Emile Hirsch, Craig Robinson. It's certainly a list of 4 people, and I think that's pretty fun.
I think that's your 2018 quote. It's a list of 4 people. Thank you, Joel, for counting them out. Yes, there are 4 people.
Well, I mean, hey, so is the cast of A Star Is Born. Bradley
that's
Cooper,
true. That's true.
Lady Gaga, Dave Chappelle, and Sam Elliott. It's a list of 4 people, and that's the best kind of cast, though.
That's how we're gonna review movies from now on. Listen, this movie's got like a cast of 8 people. It was good. Moving on.
It's the best kind of cast if you can just get a bunch of random people together. That's why I want Martin Scorsese to finish off his career at some point with, like, I don't know, Kadeem Hardison, just list off a bunch of random people and put them in the movie. It's funny
that you mentioned that, because our next trailer that we're about to talk about has probably the most random duo that you would never even think of.
This is true, actually, considering the voices that they have that one of them has in the trailer. The next one is called Green Book. This is sort of a drama about a white man and a black man getting together. The white man is a chauffeur of the black man who's relatively important, but also black, and it's super awkward because it's the South. It's a certain period of time. The white man is played by Viggo Mortensen with what I assume is him trying to do some sort of clever voice, but it kind of comes across as just oh my gosh, it's like a cartoon version of Joe Pesci's accent from Goodfellas. And Mahershala Ali looks solid here, but this is another trailer. I don't get the appeal of this movie. This is 2018. Stories like this are just very, very old hat. This is just Driving Miss Daisy, but neither of them is a woman. It's just, Yeah, and it's reversed, I guess. But in terms of the dynamic, but yeah, I just don't get it. It doesn't. Mortensen looks really really bad in this movie, and I hate saying that because I love the guy, but he just looks really bad here. Um, yeah, nothing about this really sells this movie for me. So I don't like this trailer. Just a spoiler alert: I only liked one of the trailers this week. So yeah, we'll get to that later. It's a very obvious choice, but anyway, take it away. I don't know what you think about this.
I guess breaking news. I guess there's something in the water because I love this trailer. Yes, the accent is kind of a little off, but I think what this movie kind of relied on the most, and I think the trailer accentuated that, and I totally got it, was the relationship between these two. Where, this isn't... I mean, it's based on a true story. And I don't know. I thought it was good, and I really liked them two in it. I think, Vigo and Mahershala, like, it looks like they have good chemistry, and I kind of want to see where the story goes, and like how much he's going to protect him. And how intense it's going to get because, like I said, it's based on real-life situations. But it looks like a really endearing kind of buddy road trip movie. And we're going to get a lot of, like relationship interactions with them and just, kind of just see their back and forth. And I don't know, maybe it was just me. And I mean, I'll say I loved it. I'm not really, it's not like, top 3 anticipated for the rest of the year or anything, but in terms of a trailer, I thought it did what it needed to do, and it got me interested in a movie that I didn't even know existed. So, I guess that has it going for it, but I want to see it.
I guess for me, it just felt like somebody took the whole movie and put it in this algorithm of crank out the most generic trailer possible that you can make for this story.
It's understandable.
And gave it maybe, I guess, the first, all but the last 20 minutes or something like that. Not all of the movie. And then just kind of spit out this. And I just, it just looks very generic and old fashioned in a way that bores me, rather than being the good kind of old fashioned. And so, yeah, I just didn't quite get it. But bring us into this next trailer.
Okay, so this next one I actually really liked as well, and I'm assuming this is another one that Joel did not like. But I am fascinated because of the person involved in the writing and directing, even though I didn't really care for one of the things he wrote, but I'll get into that in just a second. This one's called The Oath, and this one stars Ike Barinholtz, Tiffany Haddish as a couple that go to Ike Barinholtz's family's house for Thanksgiving. And, of course, talking about politics around a dinner table is just about as awkward as it seems, and this one takes it into links that are very violent. And I liked it. I don't know. It's one of those like weird premises where it seems very basic and it just gets out of control and just purely ridiculous towards the end. But movies are fiction, and they're meant for entertainment. And this is Ike Barinholtz's way of taking the political divide that we see in this country and just amping it up into like a very entertaining type of thriller. Like, I love movies that are set in one location or like even over like a course of like a day or a weekend, like in a house. And that's what this movie is going to do. I don't know if it's going to be funny or not, because the trailer wasn't like, ha ha ha, like laugh my ribs funny. It was more like uncomfortable chuckle. But I think if you follow Ike Barinholtz online, he's very politically outspoken against everything in the administration. So obviously, I know which way this movie is going to lean. I don't mind that. I just want to kind of see it through his eyes and like what he kind of imagines what these things are like. Minus the guns and everything. But I thought it was one of these like kind of like dark comedy thrillers that works because it's super relevant, and that type of relevancy applied to this kind of dark comedy manner, it kind of works. And Ike Barinholtz is one of these guys I've been a huge fan of ever since I was a teenager. I will be the one of 5 people on the face of the planet that will say in its heyday, Mad TV was better than SNL. I know, sacrilegious, throw a pie at me, pitchfork, whatever you gotta do. But Ike Barinholtz was on the kind of like golden age of Mad TV. So he was with like Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele, Michael McDonald, Alex Bornstein, Ari Spears, Will Sasso. That was the Mad TV I loved growing up, and Ike was a part of that. I always thought Ike was funny. But after Mad TV was canceled and he left the show, I was like, where's this guy going to go? Because he wasn't really in anything, and now Ike is in everything, whether it's, Neighbors, Blockers, Suicide Squad, this, Mindy Project. The guy's all over the place now, and he's actually incredibly funny on screen. Now, he has never directed a feature film before. This kind of shows it looks like a debut type of movie. It's very kind of basic in cinematography and, just the various uses of settings and stuff. It looks very minimal and kind of claustrophobic. That's, I think that's a great thing to kind of do as your first film. He's also the head writer on it. Now, he was one of the co-writers on Central Intelligence. Didn't really care for it, but I think with Ike's sensibilities and the fact that he is fully writing this, fully directing it, and I know what his political stances are, this is going to be a crazy as hell movie, and I'm on board for it. It's very short. It's only like a minute and a half. It's not really that long, but it's definitely a movie I want to check out because this is the type of like genre, dark comedy stuff that I really kind of salivate over. So, Joel, once again, I think there's something in the water. I really like this trailer.
Yeah, with I'm assuming one exception, we feel differently about all of these. Well, maybe I guess two exceptions. I'm assuming we'll get to the other one.
Yes.
Later, but yeah. So this is my least favorite trailer of the week.
Dang.
This looks like a white liberal version of Get Out to me. Sort of like an answer to that, in a way that is kind of kind of seems to have missed the point of that movie, which was to parody not Southerners but white liberal Southerners who kind of take advantage of their sense of allyship with African Americans in 2018, and this feels like a weird answer to that movie in the way that it just essentially reverses everything and then also adds a big slapstick comedy angle. I think it looks completely annoying. I don't think it looks funny at all in pretty much any way. I like Barinholtz. I like Ike. Ha! Okay.
Do you like Mike and Ike? Joel, would you like to announce that on air? Do you like Mike and Ike?
I do like Mike and Ike's Candy, yes.
No. I'm talking about, do you like the Little Bow Wow movie and Ike Barinholtz together as a single thing? That's what I'm asking, Joel. Listen to the question.
No joke. I saw Like Mike twice.
Oh, God.
Okay. I don't remember a single frame of that movie, but I saw it twice, and I remember doing that. You'd think I remember that movie after 2 viewings, but
it does start Little Bow Wow, so it's very easily forgettable.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's 16 years old this year. It's great.
Oh my God! Don't say that.
Anyway, back to this one. I think it looks annoying. You're right about the whole style. I mean, it looks like basic sitcom, turned into a movie. I don't have any problem with that. That's fine. That's not to be like rude or whatever. That's most comedies right now. They don't. I mean, with the exceptions of something like Game Night, which actually tries to take an interesting approach to the visual concepts. It's not super surprising to find this kind of basic style in something like this, so I don't have a problem with that. It's the humor and the source behind the humor, like thematically speaking, that I have a problem with.
Well, no, you could be correct. Now, when we watch this movie, if it's like over the head, like just bashing in your face, and there's really no like comedic substance to it or anything that really does anything, then I'll call it out, because unfortunately I know Ike's political stances, so I already know, just even from the trailer, I know which way he's going to lean on this movie, and I don't mind if there is, like I said, a point to it or substance to it or even balance of showing both. But you're right, it could be one of those movies that's extremely annoying, and even you and I, who are relatively progressive, like it could be annoying to us, and like that's not a good thing, So you could be absolutely right.
All right. So our next trailer, I think we can both agree, is easily the best trailer of the week, and
Agreed.
that is Roma, not Fellini's Roma, Cuarón's Roma. This one is the first movie in 5 years from director Alfonso Cuarón, and this guy seems to take a while between his movies, because before Gravity, he had Children of Men way back in 2006, and I love this guy's filmography. I remember seeing A Little Princess back in theaters in 1995. I haven't seen it since then, but I remember being delighted by it then. I think that Prisoner of Azkaban is definitely one of the more entertaining Harry Potter movies, and Children of Men is an outright masterpiece. Gravity is pretty close to that, if not quite a masterpiece. It's pretty great. And I do own Y Tu Mamá También. I haven't watched it yet, but I do own that. I'm going to probably watch that before this, considering this is another one that is not in the English language. He is returning to kind of this interesting part of the history of Mexico City, following a specific family, a middle-class family in the early 1970s. Apparently, it's very autobiographical in some ways. He certainly he has been vocal about this. He takes kind of memories that he has and puts them on screen in this movie. And obviously, maybe they're not entirely accurate to reality, but they are accurate to his memory. And I think that the best filmmakers have the most interesting interpretations of their memories. So I'm really excited to see this. The trailer is very, very striking. It comes from Netflix, but it is going to be getting some form of theatrical presentation. I hope that you and I both get to see this in theaters, because it looks absolutely stunning visually. I will repeat what Roger Ebert once said about black and white photography, because this is shot in black and white. Color fades, maybe not so much now. It's less common, but in years and years and years from now, color's going to fade on some of the movies that we have, and black and white is not, because there's some timeless quality to it. And I think that it was very smart of him to do this, because we kind of all remember stuff in black and white, maybe not consciously, and maybe not, we don't think about it in black and white, but I think that if we were all to take our memories and put them on movie screens, we would probably choose black and white to tell that story, because it's a very specific kind of visual language, and I'm really excited to see what Cuarón has got up his sleeve. He did the cinematography with a man named Galo Olivares, so that's really cool. He also co-edited. He wrote the movie. He produced the movie. He directed the movie. This dude did a lot on this movie. And it's also got a cast of mostly no names. I think that there's a couple of popular Mexican stars in there, and Hispanic and otherwise. But I think it's mostly no names. It's going to be very interesting to see that happen. So I am truly, truly excited for this. Even if I have to watch it on Netflix, I'm excited. So yeah, easily my favorite trailer of the week. It wasn't even a competition, because I didn't like any of the other trailers. So yeah, but I'm happy to know that it's yours as well. So take it away.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, you're talking about Alfonso Cuarón. I mean, I'm not dissing Gravity. I think Gravity is a fine visual achievement, but when you talk about the third Harry Potter film or even Children of Men, the guy can do no wrong. I have not seen anything prior to his kind of current movies, so that's my fault.
Yeah, I also haven't seen his Great Expectations adaptation, which was from '98. I think it had Ethan Hawke in it, actually.
Oh wow!
But I've heard really good things. I think it was one that Ebert gave 4 stars, for instance. So yeah, that's one that I want to see as well. I might just blind buy that and then watch that with Y Tu Mamá También, which I've heard is great too. So yeah, really, really excited to catch up with his stuff.
Yeah, he's one of those filmmakers, like you said, that takes 20 years in between each movie. So we could actually get through his whole filmography in a weekend. So there's nothing wrong with that. Filmmakers that take their time and really want to make sure their next project is about as perfect as it can be. I have full respect for that. You don't have to crank a movie out every single year. But if you're good at that as well, you do you. There's no right or wrong or process into doing that, but this is how Cuarón does it, and Roma looks spectacular. It's visually stunning. It gets you sucked in with the story. It's going to be this visual odyssey of this one specific family. And Joel's completely right. When I watch movies that have people kind of referring to memories of their past or, showing stuff from the past and someone from the present, like explaining or whatever, I always love two different filters, black and white or like a gold sepia to emphasize memory. And I'm glad he went with the more black and white because it's something we really don't see from Mexico, because he could have easily gone with the gold sepia because the gold sepia would actually highlight the visual and colorful landscapes of Mexico, since Mexico has an inherent kind of glow to it already. He could have easily gone that route, but the fact that he went the opposite and did black and white, it makes it even more alluring and stunning in a very interesting way. So I'm all for this, man. I hope we get some type of theatrical release, but if we have to watch it on Netflix, I mean, Netflix movies have never done it for me. There might be an exception here and there with Beast of No Nation or...
I think it's probably their productions. Because there's some that they make themselves, that they get behind
of like
heavily.
Acquiring and distributing it.
Yeah. It seems like their acquisitions process is better than their production process in terms of the movies that they make versus the movies that they buy. So this is certainly going to be more along the lines of Mudbound than something like Bright or or whatever.
But that's totally fine with me, because if they can just keep getting stuff like this and putting on Netflix, I have no problem with that, because it exposes people who don't really watch as many kind of independent out there movies as this. It gives a more opportunity for people to watch it. The only problem I have is Alfonso Cuarón's an Oscar winner and he can't get distribution. Like, I hate when maybe this was his choice. I have no clue, but it just seems like no one wanted to pick this movie up, and Netflix, for better or worse, picks up, the slack. And I just wish, he'd be able to do what Guillermo del Toro did, where after his Oscar win, he got like a 15-year picture deal. So it's like, why can't Cuarón get that? I have no clue, but, just watching his films from the past, I'm super excited for this, and I cannot wait, man. Yeah, that trailer surprised me, because I was like, what's Roma? And I was like, oh, this is the Cuarón picture. And a little nitpick. I realized that Gravity was the more box office heavy film, but he's from the director of Children of Men and Gravity, not Gravity and Children of Men. Because Children of Men is a better film. So that's just a little gripe. When I saw that, I was like, oh, why'd you put Gravity first? I realized
they also, on their it's interesting, on their trailer for Gravity, they had from the director of Children of Men and Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
What? You figured they put Harry Potter on top.
Right. And then on, I think, Children of Men, they put they only had Harry Potter, the Prisoner of Azkaban. They didn't even mention Y Tu Mamá También, which is technically kind of his most. I would say it's his most popular movie in terms of the response that it had.
Well, it's not only that. Like, Children of Men is a hard R movie, and Harry Potter's a child's film. So it's like,
here's this really, really grim and dark sci-fi movie. It's from the director of the Boy Wizard movie. Have fun with that.
Have fun.
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's just going to be really sad when people can't see this in theaters in 70 millimeter, which is what it was shot in.
Yeah.
And have to watch it at home. And it's not just trying to disparage Netflix. They do some great work, but this is the kind of movie that I would want to see in the theaters. It's just so stunning, like just so stunning visually. And it looks like it's going to be the best cinematography of the year. if I have any say about
and
it.
I know this is never going to happen. There is a 0 chance this is going to happen. But this movie would play so well for like Joel and I and all you that out there that love movies, film nerds and film junkies. This would be a perfect film for IMAX. Like just to sit there and just like soak in the visual beauty from it. Oh man, it'd be great.
Anything in 70 millimeter is going to be great in IMAX, just because it intensifies the richness of the film grain and all of that. It's great. So, all right, to get to our last trailer, Chase hinted at me and I know what it is now, but he hinted at me that there was one trailer that he disliked, whereas there was only one trailer that I liked. And we have reached that. So I just wanted to tell y'all that, yes, I have seen the movie called What Women Want. However, it has been so long and it was so mediocre that I don't remember anything about it. It's definitely not a highlight of Nancy Meyer's career. Let's just say that. She's the one who directed stuff like actually, this one I haven't seen, but Something's Gotta Give is really popular. I kind of liked The Holiday, even though it's too long. I really hated The Intern, so it's definitely not on that level. But anyway, there's been some movies throughout the years. It's Complicated, I thought was pretty terrific too. But yeah, so What Women Want, starred Mel Gibson as a man who could suddenly read the minds of women. And now we have What Men Want, which stars Taraji P. Henson in the same situation, just obviously reversed. I will say that it's ironic that this is very obviously Chase's least favorite trailer of the week, because of the trailers that I didn't like, I disliked this one the least. So I guess, relatively speaking, it's the one that I'm second most excited for, even though I don't think it's a very good trailer or that it looks like a very good movie. I will just say that I think that there were a couple of pretty funny things here. At the end, when just the end the end of this trailer is really funny. There's also a mention of the movie Get Out that I chuckled at when she asks for tea and her white assistant says, I thought black people didn't drink tea after Get Out, which I thought was pretty funny. And then but otherwise it just looks like your kind of typical kind of slightly supernatural comedy drama hybrid where the main character has to learn a lesson of some sort. And in this case, it's going to be listening to the thoughts of men to figure out something. I don't know. Anyway, whatever the case, Henson looks solid enough, I guess. But it just doesn't look like a very good movie. I guess I didn't. I'm about to get it over to you, but I guess I didn't mind it as much as you did. Generally speaking, but yeah, it definitely looks pretty mediocre to me.
What Men Want? No, directed by no, written by no, stars no. This trailer is awful. I didn't laugh one bit, and it looks like that typical January garbage that Will Packer and his production team like to spew out every once in a while. If you don't know who Will Packer is, he's the guy behind every single Kevin Hart film. Besides a couple of them, over the past 5 years, he dumps.
Oh, that's what they're talking about.
Yeah. So,
okay.
The reason why I'm so angry is Taraji P. Henson is one of my favorites. She's one of my favorites, but she already has a strike on her from me for this year for Proud Mary in the same damn month. So we're looking at this one as Proud Mary Part 2, where you're going to sit there and you're just going to feel so uncomfortable, you're going to want to get out. Yeah, there you go, pun intended. Just everything about this is just, all the jokes fell flat. I hate the Will Packer cinematography visuals, which is basically white, bright walls of a insane hospital sitcom.
It looks really overproduced and flat at the same time. Yeah.
I hate the way he produces his movies, because he does what Blum does, where he produces on the cheap. I don't have a problem with that, but at least try to make it a visual stimulant, not something that puts your eyes to sleep. Tracy Morgan, I like the guy quite a bit. He gets into an accident. He takes a long time off. He comes back and he's like, I'm going to start doing some more movies. And he does this. okay. When your best actor in the trailer is Mark Cuban, you have a problem. And yeah, did you forget he was in it?
I totally forgot, and I watched it this morning. That's
him
funny.
and Shaquille O'Neal are in the same scene together.
Oh yeah.
Very very odd indeed.
The Shaquille O'Neal, I thought that was actually pretty funny because, and I think that was the end scene that I was talking about, where we suddenly realized that all she's really hearing, or much of what she's really hearing, is just really banal observations.
Yeah.
And I think that there's interesting potential there because, she's going to learn, about some of the less nice things that men think. She's going to learn maybe some, very nice things, but also just really banal observations about random crap that doesn't matter.
And my problem with this whole entire story is that Joel and I are both guys. We know how we thought when we were teenagers. That's what this whole movie is going to be. It's going to be nothing but, like sex jokes for an hour and a half. And it's like, I guess I don't mind that in a certain context, but like, it's going to get old after a while. Within the first 5 minutes, they're going to have like, or not the first 5 minutes, but the first time that she hears the voices, that's what it's going to be. A penis joke there, a penis joke there, and you might chuckle a little bit, but as the movie keeps going and that's all it is, you're like, cool, can we like just wrap this up? It's just, I don't know, man. It just looks bad, and you know what? The movie's going to make money. Will Packer movies usually do pretty good, and I know Taraji P's got a huge fan base, considering that she's really popular with Terrence Howard on Empire, and of course, when she does her more kind of adult thrillers like a No Good Deed or like Acrimony, people still show up for them. So this movie's going to make money. I wish it wouldn't, but here we are, Joel. Here we are. We live in a time where this movie's going to make probably more money than most indie films that we see for the rest of this year. So I have nothing more to say. No, I'm good.
Well, I can tell you that I probably won't be reviewing it on the show, even as an extra review. Yeah, because that week I think the Hellboy reboot comes out, so that's probably going to be the thing that we talk about. But yeah, it looks pretty mediocre. All right, guys. So my favorite trailer was Roma. Obviously, Chase's was What Men Want. Let us know what yours is. I had to do that. All right, guys.
Oh no, hey, but don't worry, folks. Since next week is my week for trailers, I know for sure, since Happy Time Murders is coming out, we're going to get a lot of red band restricted comedy trailers, and I'm going to give Joel all of them, because they're probably all going to be terrible, and I'm going to be like, all right, Joel, this is your payback for picking this trailer, so I'm going to let you introduce all of those next week.
Well, thank you. I know from that you love me. All right, so let's get into our reviews of Mile 22. Oh boy! All right, so this is of course, the latest collaboration between director Peter Berg and star Mark Wahlberg, who plays Jimmy Silva, an operative with an ultra top secret government military group that does something or other, lots of covert missions. In this case, they are after a man named Lee Noor, who is in some sort of Southeast Asian country that's never actually specified, and he has some important information that he will give to the government if and only if they get him out of that country and out of the way of extradition. And I'm surprised that I could tell you the plot synopsis, because it is rather hidden in a lot of really repetitive editing. All right. So, guys, let me tell you something. So, I'm going to be giving this movie a certain grade. I guess I've already kind of ruined that, but ruined that mystery. But there are certain movies that will offend me not because of their morals, but will offend me because of the style taken to execute the ideas of the movie, if it has any. I'm not sure this movie has any. But this movie is essentially worthless. I think that there is absolutely nothing about this movie that works except for one small scene. And that scene works in spite of itself almost. And I will get to that near the end of the review. But first, I want to tear this movie apart. There is barely a barely a cut in this movie that's longer than 3 seconds. It is awful, assaultive editing for every single second of its length. And that's just one of the problems. But it's also kind of indicative of, or if not indicative, emblematic of a certain issue with the movie, and that is that it is not about anything. It might be about a plot that it tells us about, like there's details here, there's characters, stuff happens on screen that people can watch, but this movie is not actually about anything. It's not saying anything of worth about any sort of political setup in it deep within its plot. It's not saying anything of value. All it is a bunch of really angry people yelling at each other for 95 minutes, whether it be that they're yelling, combat strategies or just screaming angrily at each other in their faces. It's just about a bunch of really angry people doing stupid things, and then ultimately the setup is that, and this is what the title refers to, they have to transfer this character played by Iko Uwais from one place to another place, and it's 22 miles between the places, and they have to drive really fast, and they have a lot of obstacles by way of people, and they have to stop off in a building at one point for no reason to try to fight people. And do you get the idea that I'm kind of struggling to tell you what this movie is about? Yeah, you do, because the screenplay here by Leah Carpenter takes all of the information that it's trying to give to us and puts it in the dialogue at every second. Every single piece of dialogue here is expository. Every one. We're always learning something about someone or about some event in the movie. And when it isn't expository dialogue, it's combat strategy dialogue. Run, run, run. The whole, get up with them calling each other like code names across the radio. Every single line of dialogue is to give us some sort of information about the plot or about the characters, and it is beyond annoying. And I compared this in my review that I've just posted as of this morning to my site to the demo reel of a video game that nobody likes. And I think that that's pretty true, because this seems like, even for a video game, if this was a video game, I think that it would be a ridiculously mediocre one that just kind of, you just do your thing, you go through the streets, you shoot some people, and then you've learned nothing, you've gained no value in that experience, from that experience, and you've just kind of sat there while something played out in front of you. Yet it also kind of reminds of that exact experience, except that you're the person watching, not playing the game. It's just completely on autopilot. It's remarkably generic and completely just run of the mill, but in a way that is offensively like the editing. The editing is an assault on the senses, and that's what I mean by offensive. It's not morally offensive. It's not, in some, although there are certainly characters here who seem to barter in racist tropes, but it's not really about those. Those are very, very uncommon in the movie, but really it's just assaultive editing, one after another. To get into the performances, literally none of them work at all ever. There is not a single performance here that is even remotely good. The main villain of the movie, played by Sam Medina, is just an idiot. He's not interesting, and his comeuppance is like casual. You don't even feel anything about it. Iko Uwai is not given a chance to do much of his stunts in a way that isn't, edited like a jackhammer. The one cool scene belongs to him, and that is a scene where he is handcuffed to a hospital bed and has to ward off a bunch of mercenaries. I think 3 or 4 of them. And that's pretty cool because of the way that it's staged, but the way that it's executed is, again, horribly edited. You don't get a sense of the geography of the action. They could be anywhere in that room. It could be anybody that you're watching, and you wouldn't know. It's just so badly framed, I should say. And that's the one cool scene. But every other scene that Iko gets is just like that, except that it isn't even cleverly staged. And so you just get a lot of him using, his particular skills of blocking and sparring hits and all that. You just, or not sparring, whatever I'm trying to say. Anyway, blocking and hitting other people when they hit him back, and it's just a lot of nonsense. This, you get a little bit of insight into the main character played by Wahlberg, that his parents or his mom and twin siblings died when he was a kid, and then he kind of grew up and joined this the military, and then was put in this group, and then Lauren Cohen plays his main partner in the team. She can't see her daughter, so that's basically the 2 bits of actual character development you get in this thing. It is an unpleasant, a dreadfully unpleasant movie to sit through, because what it is just beat after beat of not allowing any sort of character to breathe, not allowing us to get any sense of like there's no sense of like stopping to breathe and allowing us to consider what we've seen. It's constant motion at every single second. Even the scenes of generic just talking to each other is edited in such a haphazard way that it's always moving. There's never a cut that's longer than 3 seconds, and if there is, then it's like 4 seconds. I don't know if there's even those. It is the most aggressively, or it's one of the most aggressively unpleasant things I've seen in a movie viewing context this year, and I hated every single sorry second of this movie. And so yes, I'm going with a certain rating that I have to feel, and in fact, I was just one above this when I started out, just writing my review. I had, half a star on my website written out, and then the more that I wrote, the more I realized how much I hate this movie. And I just wanted to kind of lead this off with the last sentence of my review, which is that Mile 22 has nothing to say and no brain in its head, but it does yell its nonsense very loudly, and it is just 95 seconds of torturous, dull, just hateful nonsense, and I'm giving Mile 22 an F. This is the first time that we have done a main review. No, actually, I think that this is the first time I've ever reviewed anything that I gave an F on this show. I've obviously on my website I have since I started last April or March, but for the first time, I'm giving our main review, main reviewed movie an F, and I mean it. This movie is easily one of the worst movies I've seen this year, if not the worst. It is that bad. Woody Woodpecker might be worse, but this is certainly a close second. And I think it's just it is utterly without value. Forget merit. The merit of the movie is barely there at all. They made a movie, and probably 75% of the time they keep the camera pointed in the correct direction. Great. That's merit, and that's barely there. There's no value to this movie. There's nothing that the movie is saying. it deadens the mind for 95 minutes and it doesn't do anything else. And I hate it. So I'm going to give it over to you, Chase, because I know that you feel pretty similarly.
Well, I'm actually going to surprise you. I actually think it's a pretty great movie, and I wanted to let people know movies I would want to see on the level of a Mile 22. So like movies I've seen this year to basically be like, okay, so I could equate it to that. Movies I would want to see, alongside Mile 22, the 1517 in Paris. Possibly, like a Rampage or even Pacific Rim. I don't know, maybe like a Solo or I don't know, like an Equalizer 2 or Skyscraper. All of those I would say are equivalent to a Mile 22, which means I loved it. Okay, so this movie is two things. One, it is exactly what I texted to Joel after I saw the movie, and this is exactly what I said, and this is how I would describe this movie. It's like if someone tweeted an all caps lock, no punctuation tweet, no one responded to it, and they argued with themselves for like an hour and a half, and then they tired themselves out and went to sleep. That's exactly what this movie is. And the second thing, before I will meticulously break this thing down by section, because it's atrocious everywhere. It's an accountant ripoff. It reminds me of like when you go to those like flea markets and you see underwear by Calvin Klein's, and you're like, that's obviously a ripoff. And it's like, what are you trying to prove? Like, it's just okay. So what do I mean by that? Well, it's explained within the first like 5 seconds of the movie. Okay. I got to break this down by section because there's just a lot of things going wrong here. And if everyone out there that's listening just wants some context about why I'm so angry, this is not a hit piece on Mark Wahlberg or Peter Berg. I actually think the three movies that they've done together so far are great. They are great films, and that's what makes me so severely disappointed in this one. Because when you wanted to think about Lone Survivor, Deepwater Horizon, or Patriots Day, those are all three consistently great. Like, yes, there are issues with them, but they are great films nonetheless. And I remember in 2016 and then bleeding into 2017 watching Deepwater Horizon and Patriots Day in theaters. It was a really great theater experience. So that's why I'm so hard on this movie, because nothing about it works except for like the one thing. And Joel knows what I'm talking about because it's basically the same thing with him. Okay. The way this movie starts, I really didn't have an issue with. On an editing basis, it was hacked. But the way it starts out, it's like, okay, they're on a mission. They're, tracking down some people that are obviously bad. Okay, cool. It's a great way to start your movie. But as soon as the credits started rolling, I knew that this movie was going to be bad. They gave Mark Wahlberg's character backstory within the credits. Like, hey, we don't need to mention it throughout the movie, so here you go during the credits. Okay, he's smart. He joins the military. He's a great assassin. And then we go to Mark Wahlberg's apartment, and we see a shot of a puzzle, a shot of the puzzle pieces on the table, and we see him flicking a rubber band on his wrist. And then he watches the news story of the thing that he was a part of, and then it moves on. I'm like, oh no, they're trying to be like the accountant. And speaking of the rubber band thing, that never comes into play with his character at all. It's just there. And it even is integrated into the editing, which I will get into the next scene, because this also just highlights a major issue with this film. It goes to a cafe where he's talking with another character in Ronda Rousey. And as he's talking, he's super aggressive. He just seems angry all the time, and it keeps cutting to him flicking the rubber band on his wrist. And the editor cut every conversation in this movie to be like, after one actor says a sentence, it cuts to the next person. There's no overlay in audio to where if the shot is on a particular person, then the other person is still continuing to talk. No, it's just cut every single sentence. So at that point, and we were about 10 minutes in, I knew we were in trouble. So to start with the story, as basic as it seems, transferring a prisoner from point A to point B before people, capture him, whatever, that is something that has been done before. That's not an issue. If they would have made it somewhat compelling and made it like a 90-minute, adrenaline fueled ride with some really great, moments between characters, I wouldn't have minded. I would have been like, okay, see, whatever. It's a very average movie. But the story is simple, but it makes itself complicated by, interjecting character moments that really just seem out of place and so forced that the writer was like, well, we got to have this in there. Case in point, Lauren Cohen's character. We randomly cut to her in a room where she's on a secret phone talking to, I guess, her ex-husband and her kid. And she's like, oh, I miss you guys. And he's just like, you're not being mommy right now. And she's like, well, F you. And she throws it on the floor. And then it's brought up one more time at the end, and that was it. And it's like, okay, cool. She's a mom. What am I supposed to take from that? And you're probably wondering, like, why does it jump all over the place like that? This is within the first 10 minutes of the movie. I'm not making this up. This is how the movie is structured. Okay, so going back to the story and the characters. They write these characters out to have characteristics that make no sense for the movie or the story at large. Where it's like, they establish that Mark Wahlberg has some type of mental capacity where he is faster, he is stronger, and all that stuff. Basically, the accountant. That none of that plays into the movie at all, except for the horrendous editing cutting back to his rubber band wrist. That's it. Lauren Cohen, children. Ronda Rousey looks up an image of nuclear war, and then she eventually gets obliterated on the streets. Cool. That was her character. So the characterization of these people is so thinly veiled and so forced that it doesn't make sense for even the simplest of stories that this movie's trying to get across. So you have that, and then you have the dialogue. The dialogue is so bad because everyone is so aggressive and angry, it just makes it seem like it's forced dialogue. And I rarely ever say this because one of my favorite movies of all time has the F word in it probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. That would be the South Park movie. This movie's cursing also feels forced. There are several scenes in the beginning of the movie where I'm like, oh no, this movie's going to be gratuitous in the violence and the language. Is when Mark Wahlberg is talking to, I believe it's his boss or like his superintendent, and he's just like, did you F this S up, S this effing S up, FSS? I'm like, what was the point of that? Like, it's lazy. It's so lazy, and it goes into the whole structure of the movie. So that's the script. I'm just getting started. So that is the actual screenplay of the movie. It's a simple story that makes itself complicated with terrible characterization and forced dialogue and cursing. Okay, to go to Peter Berg's directing. Peter Berg wanted to do a Paul Greengrass and do shaky cam kind of, grounded documentarian type of look. I have no issue with that. Paul Greengrass does it pretty well with the Jason Bourne movies. Those are great action films that have shaky cam, fast cuts, but they make sense for the sequences and you can actually see what's going on. What Peter Berg tries to do with the cameraman and whoever's in charge of the DP on this, it's so shaky. And Joel is correct. I even counted, because I got bored with the movie. I was like, I wanted to see how long they would stay on shots. Maybe 1-2 seconds at most. I think there was a surprise here and there with like a 3-second one. And I was like...
a surprise.
Yeah, a surprise. And I was just like, ooh, that was quite fluid. And then we go back to the hacking. So he thought that he could direct these action sequences and edit them in such a way to where it feels like a Paul Greengrass movie, but it just feels like a director that thinks he's doing a Paul Greengrass, but in more a line he's doing like an Alex Cross type of editing where you can't tell what's going on. It doesn't stay on conversations long enough, and it just seems so haphazard. And it goes back to the cafe scene in the beginning of the movie. This is how it's edited. You have Mark Wahlberg, Ronda Rousey, and some other guy sitting in a triangle shape. You have 3 different shots on her, him, and the other guy. You also have maybe one wide shot of the diner and another shot of his rubber band wrist. It was cut every single time someone said a sentence, and then they would interject the rubber band wrist shot just randomly to show that he's thinking, he's getting smarter, and it's like, no, it comes across as lazy, and you have no idea how to edit a movie. It comes across so amateurish. Okay, so that's the director.
It also I just wanted to say that scene kind of reveals something too, that the framing device does, which is him kind of giving a deposition about all this. The movie won't shut up. The characters won't shut up.
It just keeps going.
I mean, even in just the assault of editing, and you're right about the profanity too. You know, movies can use a lot of profanity in kind of this idiosyncratic fun way. This one just assaults you with a bunch of F-bombs, and it's emblematic of the editing in the movie, which just assaults you with a lot of cuts, you know, fast cuts and everything. And then you have something like that diner scene where, or the framing device where he's, you know, sitting at a table and he's talking to, you know, upper management people about everything that's happened. This movie won't shut up. The characters won't stop talking. When there isn't fighting, there's talking. And that's it. That's all the movie is. That is all the movie is. And by the way, I just wanted to mention, you were right about the movie looking drab, like the cinematography. And I wanted to bless you with this knowledge that the cinematographer is the same person who shot Truth or Dare. So, yeah.
Which, ironically, I'd rather watch that movie than this.
Yeah. No, totally.
Hilarious.
I think it's way better than this movie.
Oh, my God. It's one of those things to where my analogy with the tweet is true. It's incoherent, loud babble that never shuts up. And here's the thing. People might throw at me like, oh, what about movies that are just purely like, you know, action heavy, going from point A to point B, and it's just nonstop like a Mad Max Fury Road. Okay, point taken. But the difference is you actually care about what's going on. You care about some of the characters. It's visually interesting. It is loud and bombastic on an artistic level. This has no artistic value whatsoever. It's just loud to be loud. And that's another thing. You don't care about anything that's happening. There are several people that die in this movie, and you're like, cool. Like, Ronda Rousey just dies, and you're just like, I don't feel anything. Like, it's a movie that's void of any type of emotion while yelling emotions at you. It's just, it's so incoherent. All right, to move into the acting, everyone's bad. When you have Mark Wahlberg that's literally abrasive and loud the entire time, it's hard to, first of all, get behind him and to get behind his acting. Everyone else is like overacting, saying the F-bomb for no apparent reason, doesn't even flow well with the movie. The only decent person, and Joel, you're going to have to help me pronounce it because obviously I'm going to mess it up. So go ahead and pronounce it just so people know who I'm talking about.
Well, I don't know who you're... Oh, is it the point of the movie?
Yes.
Iko Uwais.
Okay, so
and
Iko Uwais.
Iko Uwais.
Uwais. Okay, so yeah. I'm not going to say that again because I'm going to mess it up. And people that are fans of him, rightfully so, are going to jump on me.
And you say Iko as the last name, or is what we think is the last name. So.
Okay, gotcha. So he was fine. There was not much to his character, but at least his performance was like, it was menacing, manipulative, to where, like, I get where he was going, and I was like, okay, that's fine. And the one good thing about the movie is his action sequence in the hospital bed. I thought that was somewhat exciting, but once again, it's hacked to crap with the editing and the sound design, because everything's just kind of loud and in your face and so fast that you can't tell what's going on. When you have the guy that's in the raid films, and those movies rely on, wide shots that stay on a shot for like 20 seconds, and we can see the choreography and the bone-crunching martial arts, that is exciting. Taking his talents and like putting them through a Taken 2 type of like editing style, it does not work. You can't appreciate the choreography if it looks like that. Also, another character and slash, since we're talking about acting, why was John Malkovich in this movie, and who was the person that provided the wig? I realize that John Malkovich is a handsome, beautiful man that's bald, but he should never wear wigs, ever. He looks bad in them. Just stop it.
It's the second one this year, I think, after SuperCon. It was that movie that was on my bottom 5. That he kind of has this brief role in, and he has an even worse wig in that movie, and it's just so funny. He doesn't need it. Why is he gonna have it?
I know, it's like he's a good looking man without hair.
If it's like a period piece, and he's wearing one of those, the long flowing like locks or whatever of like early America, or Parliament or something. That's like a judge, or that works. But if it's just a regular old wig, he looks really awkward with it. Because
it's just I don't understand, like, people that can look at that on camera and go, we're good to go, let's shoot it. It's like, no, someone should step in and be like, this is awful, just let him be bald. All right, anyways, but he's minor because he's literally in like 2 scenes, and they make it to where his character is important at the very beginning, and he doesn't show up until like the last 20 minutes. All right, and the most insulting thing is that the ending of this movie is almost as if the writer's like, see, we totally got you with that twist. And it's like, no, you didn't. Like, it seems lazy on their part. And just like what Joel said, probably the most insulting thing, and I was reading somewhere that Styx Films wanted to make this into a franchise. This movie ends on a cliffhanger, and it's just like, are you going to come back for the sequel? It's like, no, I'm not. So it's just the whole movie, besides glimpses of excitement in the hospital scene, everything else is inexcusable. And as a film on a technical level, it is bad. Even if people could be like, oh, it's a fun action film. Okay, I guess I can see where you're coming from. But Joel and I review both sides, where we review the artistic value and merit overall, and we review the technical side. And this technical side is so bad that even if the story was just basic, we would still give this movie like a D, because it's it's hacked. And so I'm not going to give it a full F, but I will give it a very heavy, strong D-. It is almost on the verge of an F, and maybe as time goes on, it'll fester into my mind, and I'll be like, okay, F. But for right now, I'm giving it a D-. I don't recommend it to anyone. I don't recommend it when it hits iTunes. I don't even recommend it if you're drunk or if you're high or whatever you guys like to do on the weekends. I don't even recommend it just as background noise at like a party or something.
The only way
needs to be buried.
The only way you should watch this is not to.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. And and once again, I need to clarify before Joel talks about, to him, the better movie of the week, is that I'm not getting angry at Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg because I have a vendetta against them. I love their movies together. I do. I really do. And it's those types of movies that give me an argument for people that go, Mark Wahlberg can't act. And it's like, yes, he can. It's just sometimes he picks garbage movies. This is one of them, and it's extremely disappointing because of the director behind it, considering that their previous projects were great. So I cannot believe, because this is a great segue, Joel, into your surprise review, because Joel texted me after he saw Mile 22, was like, we effed up. We chose the wrong movie, and we did. And I hadn't seen this one yet. I see it on Tuesday. But Joel, what is the even if this surprise review was bad, you would still probably pick it over this one anyway. So tell us about the better movie that you saw this weekend.
Oh yeah, it's way better. So my extra review of the week is for the bigger movie of the week, and that is Crazy Rich Asians. This is the new movie from director John M. Chu of Step Up 3 and G.I. Joe Retaliation. And that sentence will no longer make any sense once I get into the review.
Wait,
this...
Joel, you forgot the most important thing about the Justin Bieber documentaries.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot he did that. I think he might have done another one as well. Another, not another Justin Bieber documentary, but another documentary about a pop star. I'm going to have to look that up later. But anyway, yeah, this one stars Constance Wu as a young woman named Rachel, who comes from modest means, although right now she's an economics professor at NYU, the youngest staff member, apparently. And she is dating a guy named Nick, played by Henry Golding, who, unbeknownst to her, is a member of a very powerful family in China, particularly Singapore, and they have been called over to Singapore for his best friend's wedding. He's the best man in that wedding, and they kind of get a chance for Rachel to meet his family. His mother's played by Michelle Yeoh. She is also staying with her best friend, played by Awkwafina, for the duration of the trip. And they get into a lot of stuff with familial drama. The response to Nick dating a so-called commoner is not received well by some of his friend's wife-to-be's family, and some other stuff goes down. And I know that this sounds like a very simple plot, and it is. This is kind of one of those. This kind of gave me the feeling of a Legally Blonde kind of movie. It's very delightful, very, very comedic. It doesn't shy away from its comedic side. It doesn't shy away from the fact that a lot of the drama is very sentimental and sappy, but in an unforceful way. It doesn't reach a level of saccharine that it might under lesser hands. But it's really charming, really funny. Constance Wu is, in addition to very pretty, if I might be a guy for a second, really good in this role. She kind of takes this material and runs with it. The character is a master at game theory. She is able to win a lot of very competitive games through her having a knowledge of economics, which you wouldn't think would help with that, but it does. And so she's an original character. She's not some run of the mill kind of woman seeking some sort of bizarre, she's not looking for a man to complete her kind of whole vision for life. She's dating someone and they like each other. And that actually brings me to one of the last scenes of the movie. I'm not going to give anything away about what brings us to this point, but there is a romantic reunion on an airplane at the end of this movie. It seems like most romantic comedies end with that, or they'll stage the action on the runway or in the airport or what have you. It'll always happen at some sort of transportation hub, let's just say. And this one does too, but the stakes of the scene are very different because it gives us an idea that the relationship that's briefly, in trouble, even if it doesn't succeed past this particular point, both participants in it are going to be fine. And that's something that's new that we don't really see very often in movies, is this kind of reframing of the whole airport trope to be utterly without stakes. They're both going to be fine. She's kind of her own woman, and she's proven that over the course of the movie's length. He's, the heir to essentially a throne, or certainly a very big legacy. He's going to be fine if this doesn't go through. But the two characters here like each other as much as they love each other, and that's rare to find. You will commonly find that in romantic comedies like this, the characters seem to tolerate each other as much as they love each other. They don't seem to like each other as friends, because I think that it's, I think we can all agree that it's important to be friends with your partner as well as partners with your partner. And this movie understands that. And the screenplay by Peter Chiarelli and Adele Lim, which is based on a really popular novel by Kevin Kwan, understands that about its characters and understands that in that moment, we need the honest moment from the characters. We don't need some, specifically like design moment where some fake drama has to be introduced. It understands that in that moment, the characters have to be honest with each other. And I won't tell the outcome of what that honesty is, but it's both predictable and also welcome at the same time. It's not particularly surprising, but it is welcome, and it's a welcome note of honesty in this movie. Not that other parts of this movie are not honest, and in fact, the romance is a very small part of this movie's equation. Mostly the movie is about family and the idea that these kind of very crushing, very intense familial and cultural ties with this family in China are very much a source of stress for everybody. The mother can barely tolerate the mother can barely tolerate her son's new girlfriend. And the reason is because it kind of reflects back onto her in a certain way. And that was very surprising to me that they would play a note like that in a movie like this, and it's really kind of touching. And but some of the best moments do involve the romance. There's this longing look at each other set to an arrangement of the song "Can't Help Falling in Love," originally done by Elvis Presley, but this particular arrangement is Ingrid Michaelson's version of the song, which is very slow, very, 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 very beautiful, and they edit it in such a way in this scene that it's easily one of the movie moments of the year. It's beautiful, and it's just one of those that's ultra charming. There are problems with it. There's this subplot involving the sister, Nick's sister, played by Gemma Chan, who's kind of saddled with her own subplot about a failing marriage that goes somewhere. It goes to a certain point in how it plays out. And then the movie skips any sort of dealing with it for about 20 minutes to get to to kind of get through the climax. And then at the very end is when it comes back. And by that point, I kind of had forgotten that it was a thing. So that's a problem, but it's not a big problem. It's kind of a smaller one. It's not a major focus of the movie, for instance. And then, some of the side characters are kind of annoying. There's Nick's ex-girlfriend, just kind of this red herring character. Ken Jeong shows up to be his usual annoying self. I do not like Ken Jeong, and I don't know if I've ever mentioned that, but I don't think he's funny. I don't think he's very talented at what he does. And he shows up here to be a creepy, I don't know if he's an uncle or somebody's father, but he's really, really creepy and annoying in this movie. So that's a big kind of stain on the movie. But overall, though, it's a really high-powered entertainment. Looks amazing. The cinematography is great, and it's just a lot of fun. And especially having seen it just literally maybe about 20 minutes after Mile 22 ended was great, because I was able to see a cheerful and delightful movie after a punishing one that I wanted to leave. And in fact, just mentioning one more thing about Mile 22, I forgot to say this as I led into my other review, but I don't walk out of movies, but Mile 22 almost made me walk out. I was pretty close because I felt like I wouldn't miss anything. And that's the last word I'll have on that, because it kind of bleeds into the fact that Crazy Rich Asians, I was able to go into that and forget pretty much all about Mile 22. And it does that. It's the perfect length. It's 2 hours exactly, because there's a lot of ground to cover, but it is very good, and I'm giving it a B+. It's a real delight, and I'm hopeful that you like it on Tuesday. So, really, really excited to hear your feedback. All right, Chase, it's your favorite time of the week, and that is
not.
You get to.
I'd rather sit through Mile 22 again.
Well, that tells you how much he loves this part of the podcast. I'm going to have you guess the top 6 of the week. This is something different, and I will tell you why I'm doing that when we get there. But I'm going to have you guess the top 6. So just a reminder, the 3 wide releases were Crazy Rich Asians, which was on Wednesday and had, obviously a couple more days to make money. And then the Friday releases were Alpha and, of course, Mile 22. So go ahead and guess the top 6. This is a regular listeners, but it's for a very specific and completely unprecedented reason. So take it away, Chase.
Okay, so I actually think I'm going to get pretty close. So I actually think Constance Wu is going to have the top 2 spots. And I've said this from the beginning. Ever since I saw the Thursday night numbers, I was like, oh, man, this movie's going to crush. So number 1, I'm going to go with Crazy Rich Asians. Number 2, I'm going to go with the Meg.
Wait, why would she have the top 2 spots? She's not in the Meg. That's it looks very much like her, but that is Bing Bing Lee, totally different actress.
Well, see, now I look racist, and now this is going to be on the internet forever.
They honestly, like,
I'm not even joking. I could have sworn that was Constance Wu.
No, it's not.
Huh. Well, I must be thinking of something else then, because I was like, I just saw the Meg with Constance Wu. Like, that's what I thought I saw. Oh my God. Well, if we lose listeners, it's understandable. All right. So those are my top 2. 3. I will go with Mission Impossible. 4, Mile 22. 5, Black Klansman. And 6, Alpha.
Okay. You got 5 of them correct, but only 3 placements correct. No, well, I'm sorry. No, only 2 placements correct.
Well, it's better than what I usually do.
Yeah. Okay. So the reason that I did this is because, of course, I just want to preface this. We talk about the Sunday numbers, not the Monday actuals, which take in the rest of Sunday. So I just want to keep that in mind, or have you guys keep that in mind when I say this, that although they are in different places, 2 movies this week made the same exact amount of money. And so, essentially, even though they are in different placements, they are tied. And I don't think I've ever seen that happen. So, all right, I'm going to go with number 6, which is Christopher Robin with 8.9 million. That has a total domestic gross of 66.9. It doesn't have a listed budget, but I'm sure it's doing fine. Worldwide, it's at 89.7. So, yeah, whatever. Now, our numbers 4 and 5 are the tied ones. They made the same weekend gross this weekend. And at number 4, number 5 is Mission Impossible Fallout with 10.5 million. It has a total gross domestically of 180.7 and a worldwide gross of 501.4. So doing really well. $178 million budget. It's already made all that back and twice over. So doing really well. Also with 10.5 million at number 4 is Alpha, which is not good because it has a $51 million budget. So not doing great. It hasn't opened worldwide yet, I don't think. It's probably going to be a little while. But yeah, it's kind of struggling. So yeah, that's an unprecedented situation. I don't think I can readily think of a situation where 2 movies made generally speaking, the same amount of money. In terms of their per theater average, they're slightly different. Alpha made 38.62, and Mission Impossible made 30.16. But still, when you round all that out, it's the same amount of money for the weekend. So really interesting situation. That's why they're kind of both at number 5 or number 4, however you look at that. So that's why I wanted to do the top 6, just because that kind of situation is impossible to predict. Number 3 is Mile 22 with 13.6 million. This one doesn't have a listed budget on Box Office Mojo, but I believe I heard that it was 35 million. So kind of struggling. Well, I guess I shouldn't say struggling because it's so awful that this is its rightful legacy is to be a disaster at the box office. But number 2 is The Meg with 21.2 million. It has a total domestic gross of 83.8 and a worldwide total of 314.2. So it's doing way better in non-U.S. markets than it is in the U.S. And it has a $130 million budget. So, it's already it's getting there. It's already broken even. It's on its way to making back its P&A. And yes, number 1, the extra couple of days helped it really well. Number 1 is indeed Crazy Rich Asians with 25.2 million and a worldwide total of 34.7. So, and it's got a $30 million budget, so it's doing really well. It's made its baseline budget back already, and it's on its way to breaking even. So, really happy to hear that. I figured that it would be the big movie of the week. So, really. That's the main news. Let's see. Big drops. Slender Man, had opened at number 4 last week. It dropped 56%, and it went down to number 8. The Spy Who Dumped Me dropped 59% from 6 to 12. That thing is not doing well. Although I guess it's going to do okay on streaming. But anyway, no big rises really. Miseducation of Cameron Post rose 11.6%. 3 movies that you saw recently opened in limited release this weekend. We the Animals debuted at number 34 with 66,000. That's pretty good. And then Juliet Naked is right below it at number 35 with 60,000. That's okay. It opened in 4 theaters though, made less than We the Animals. It's okay. And then Blaze at number 36 with 45,000. So pretty good numbers all around. And then the biggest per theater average is this movie that I'm thinking about seeing now, even though it wasn't really on my radar, but it's The Wife with Glenn Close, opened in limited release. 4 theaters, made 27,000 per theater for a total of 111,000. So that's pretty good. That's a pretty good opening. I'm hearing early Oscar buzz for that performance from her, although, indie movie in August, we don't know how that'll go down. But in any case, that is it. Not a hugely eventful week. In fact, it looks like the total amount kind of was a drop of 14.4% for all the movies this weekend. But yeah, so not a bunch of huge news, but those are the numbers. And I guess that leads us into next week, in which we are reviewing Axel, which is this new. I'm just kidding. We are reviewing the Happy Time Murders, and I know that Chase is dreading that with every bone in his body. But that is what we're reviewing.
Well, and the reason why I'm dreading it is because it's either going to be the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. So that's why
it really is. We haven't really talked about this, but there is a chance that this thing is terrible.
Yeah, there's a chance.
There really is a chance with such a gamble like this. There's a chance either that it's going to be pretty awesome, like for instance, what I thought Sausage Party was. You weren't a fan of Sausage Party, right?
No. I actually like the more.
Oh, you liked?
Yeah,
okay.
The more I think about it, the more I enjoy it.
Okay, yeah, I love that movie. I think that something like animation, which I don't know if we can call this animation. It's a mix of live action with puppetry, which isn't really live action. So, in this kind of thing where it's not strictly live action, I think that comedies flourish because they're allowed to do things that you can't do in live action. Like, for instance, the joke at the end of the trailer for this movie, where I can't see how that doesn't get the movie in NC-17. Apparently it didn't. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. I think it looks like a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it for sure. And then I will obviously have some sort of extra review, although I haven't really figured that out yet. I don't know what it is, but I will have one for you guys. So that is next week. And Chase, any last words?
Yes, I would like to deeply apologize about the Constance Wu thing. It's eating at me because it makes me look bad. So the reason why I thought that was it, for some weird reason, because she's on Fresh Off the Boat, water, the Meg, ocean. I honestly thought, like, I was reading somewhere that, Constance Wu, and it might have been because of Crazy Rich Asians, and like It might have been because the Meg and that movie are both by Warner, but I have no clue why I thought that. It's not because I think everyone looks at this and stop. It's just that it's not what it is. I know Joel doesn't think I said it that way. I just want to make sure that people know it was an honest mistake. But hey, you know what? It's a win for Warner Brothers, who definitely needed a win in general, having the top 2 movies at the box office. But yeah, next week, Happy Time Murders, and of course the week after that will be our fall movie preview, and then after that, I'm gonna go solo dolo, old school style, 300 episodes before Joel even came on, do my The Nun, and that's as far as we've gotten, and then we'll announce other episodes later on. And speaking of future episodes, we gotta get to them, so we got in this one. So Joel, where can the lovely people find you online?
You can find my writing at joelonfilm.com. I've got reviews of Crazy Rich Asians and Mile 22 up, as well as some that I've caught up with. Breaking In, Life of the Party, On Chesil Beach, a little thing called Wildling that I quite liked with Bel Powley. So you can read all the reviews there. And then I'm on Twitter at Real Joel Copling, REEL Joel Copling. And on Letterboxd at J Copling. And I'll be having a review finally pretty soon for DallasMovieScreenings.com. It's been a while, but I still have to get the movie that I'm watching. But I'm confident that I'll get it and be able to watch it. Might be a double review with my good friend Chase here. I think he knows which one I'm talking about. So
yep,
yeah, and I'm looking forward to watching that. By the way, so hopeful that it's good. And that's about it. That's where I am on the web.
Yeah, if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Real Chase Lee. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can see all the hate comments on Death of a Nation. It's absolutely such a fun read. God, I even got a couple more while we were recording. I'm like, man, these people won't stop. So yeah, I post all extra reviews. I'm gonna have, We the Animals, Juliet Naked, and Blaze up there, in the coming weeks. So if you want to, hit up on that, you can. And of course, on this podcast, whether you're listening on, Castbox, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, wherever, just support the show, share it around, and let people know this is the definitive movie podcast you just love listening to. This has been episode 243. Next week, 244, Happy Time Murders. Super happy to talk about that. That is Joel. I am Chase. You guys are awesome. And, hopefully, if you weren't a movie fan, you came onto this podcast just to give it a listen. Hopefully, we convinced you to be one. You guys are all awesome. See you guys next week for probably either the best movie of the year or the worst movie of the year. It's going to be great. So, peace out, everyone.
Bye.